Party going on 2 gardens down. Normally I'm such a miserable effer when it comes to noise, but they're playing Queen, so I'm all here for that. I haven't filmed anything for ages and I don't even know if I know how to do it anymore. How do you talk about fragrance? It's so difficult. You have to really get that creative part of your mind going, and I just find it really difficult to do it and relate into terms that make sense. But I'm going to give it a go, and I thought today I'll just talk about all the fragrances that I've been really enjoying lately, getting the most use out of while we're transitioning. Well, we're not transitioning from summer anymore. It is technically autumn, even though it is 24 degrees today. It is autumn now, so I guess the fragrance choices have changed somewhat. So I've come into the room where the music is a little quieter. I can still hear it from 2 gardens down, but it's absolutely fine. I know we're not in the rainforest. This is actually Philippe the Fern, and he's doing really well this year, and he's the perfect backdrop. So we're just gonna go ahead and film here. So this first fragrance I'm going to talk about is a fairly new one. I bought it about, well, probably just over a month ago. I had it on my radar. I've always wanted to try it. It's one of the 2 newer ones from the Prive line from Armani. They released 2 at the same time, both under the sort of that mineral sort of, what do you want to call it, like a stone collection. What is it called? But this one is Indigo Tanzanite. The magenta Tanzanite I haven't tried. I had a feeling that this one would be more up my street, and it turns out that it was. I bought a sample and I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure why I think of this as a woody fragrance. I keep associating this as being my sort of very gentle, easy to wear woody scent, and it really isn't a woody scent. There's no woods listed here. This is a very unusual lactonic-y, resinous, how would you say, ambery, maybe ambery kind of a scent. There are some notes with the heliotrope, the milk, which is not something I normally go for, but I thought that in combination with benzoin, labdanum, what else is there, Tully balsam, really beautiful, warming, resinous, enveloping sort of notes. I thought it'd be an interesting mix. I've changed the camera angle again because at least it's not in its own light, and we can actually see that it is an indigo coloured bottle. It's a really beautiful bottle. I can't remember what the top notes in here other than bergamot. It's a bit of a, there is an opening that isn't my favourite. It's kind of a sharper, the bergamot, I always feel bergamot can clash sometimes with the heavier notes. Whatever base notes is put with, it can sometimes, in my mind, be a bit clashy, which this does go through that phase of being a little, like it could be a little scratchy, maybe even sour with the bergamot hitting the sort of that heavier warm base note, but that disappears, and there's patchouli in here as well, so you're getting a kind of, not a woodiness, but there is a, you know, a nicer, warm, recognisable sort of tone in here. But I think the way the lactonic notes kind of hit the base notes, those warm up resinous, almost sort of vanillic base notes, it almost creates this unusual, slightly licorice root tone. Very subtle, very mild, and very approachable, but I like the tone that it creates. It's very Moorish for me. It's very easy to wear. There's like a duality to this, although it is very well balanced, and the duality again is this a sort of approachable, softer, wrapped up with a soft sort of milky way, but it's sort of disguising the fact that there's like a dark gothic, slightly, you know, more interesting element lurking in there. I really enjoy this one. I find it very easy to wear. It's not the biggest projection. It's quite mild. I think I like that it's quite mild. Maybe even a touch whimsical, slightly ghostly. There's something mystical in this scent that just keeps drawing me in. Indigo Tanzanite, one that I've been really enjoying and is in my current rotation. So next, from one slightly whimsical scent to one that is very whimsical, very unusual, and one that I have not put down. I love this fragrance. It's right up there, top tier, with a lot of my other top tier scents. This one is a fan favourite. I can't get enough of it. This is Alice from Redolescent. It's unusual, I will say that. It's different, it's very niche, but it's so gorgeous, it's so beautiful. So we have Alice, obviously inspired by Alice herself, that she's fallen down the rabbit hole. There's her little feet, lost one shoe. She's off on an adventure, and I suspect that she's tumbling down the rabbit hole and is surrounded by these mystical swirls of energy and atmosphere, slightly smoky, pops of colour. She's entering Wonderland, and I feel like I'm getting that in the scent. There is quite a sort of smoky, how would you describe it? Not typically smoky. It's so hard to describe this scent. It's so difficult, But yeah, I find it so easy to wear. So I wore this the end of summer while it was really, really warm. So it's perfectly fine for me to wear in summer because it's not too heavy. It's a floaty, mystical aura. And I've noticed now that it's getting cooler, I'm seeing more of this sort of ghostly way about it. The sort of smokiness that's in here becomes more ghostly because the weather, I think, is dispersing it more. It's floating around more. So what I found quite sweet in here initially, the floral aspect, which is classed as a chypre, a forget-me-not chypre. We've got some florals making up a phantom note of forget-me-not, which I love, and I think there's tuberose in here, but it's not heavy tuberose. It's a really beautiful, I don't know, there's a mix of different flowers, and it's a sort of chewy flower, but it's dispersed and slightly sweetened, like a dark sort of a sugar sweetened. But that's not as present, I think, while it's getting cooler. I'm getting more of the smokiness. The sweetness bounces around in there, makes it really fun, really endearing, really unusual. It's very hard to describe, like I said. It's so worth getting a sample of the whole set. You've got the hat up, you've got QH, Queen of Hearts, all very different. This was my favourite easily. I've actually got Alice in Wonderland socks on today, so I've matched it quite well with my socks. Anyway, so that is the beautiful Alice. And in case you need proof of that, there we are. So there's been a lot of days lately where I've been in the mood and really been fancying rosy fragrances, but rose in a certain way. A rose that is not too sweet, not too heavy, definitely on the woodier side, but still has a sort of splash of freshness in there. Something that does transition to autumn with those more woody, sort of maybe slightly warmer elements. So I've got 3 here that I've been rotating and just absolutely enjoying. One I've mentioned quite a few times before because it is one I really enjoy, and it is one of my favourites from Dior, from the Maison Dior range. This is Rouge Trafalgar. This is such an easy one to pick up and splash and not really think about too much. Have a really fresh, clean vibe. It has a real fresh, like a splash of fruity water. I think there's quite a lot of berries in here. Cherry, strawberry, red currant. I think that would be raspberry as well. But it's like the fruits are underwater, or at least the water's been infused with those fruits, and you've got a very splash, fresh sensation from them. But there is a really nice backbone of patchouli, maybe musk as well, and it just gives it some grounding. Yeah, finish is probably the best way to put it. It just sits nicely, and it actually does last quite a long time on the skin. Like, it's not a big projector, but I find it, I was smelling it all day long and I really, really enjoy it. It's just a really good, fresh, rosy, fruity fragrance. So that is Rouge Trafalgar. Getting confused with the next one here. Rose Rouge is my next one. One of my 10 for life, top tier, however you want to put it, from Van Cleef and Arpels. Don't wear this in the summer quite so much because it has a much sweeter, much more denser element, but it's not a heavy fragrance. It is really about that rose. It's just very much drenched in something very syrupy sweet, but not cloying. There's a really nice, there is a fresh splash of something in here, and the woodier element, so there's patchouli, vetiver, and also you've got cacao, I believe. Gives it a little touch of sort of dark smoothness. So I find this quite a nice one for the evening as well, because it has that more evening ready kind of touch from that cacao. I think it also makes the rose appear like it's darker, like a red rose. Often compared to Rose's Berberanza, which is another one that I absolutely love, but this is much more toned down than that, more day wear, I think. But anyway, it suits me. This is one that I crave. This is one that suits the mood and the season. I am very much influenced by weather and seasons. So yeah, Rose Rouge, what can I say? I love this fragrance, and it's definitely calling my name at the moment. So I'm really enjoying that. And I probably will continue wearing that all the way through until winter. Next rose fragrance is a fairly new release. It's a reformulation, and it has people very much divided on it, I think. I think there was a real love for the original formulation, which is fair enough. And this one isn't quite the same, so that's obviously going to be an issue for many. I had the original formulation and I sold it because I found it too heavy, too heady. Certain elements stopped me from reaching for it and enjoying it, but those elements are toned down now. So for me, this is working brilliantly and I love it. This is from Tom Ford and it is the new Café Rose in the new packaging. I do actually prefer these bottles. Well, no, I do love the private line bottles. I think they're great. I think they're whimsical. They remind me of chess pieces. But I actually think I prefer this bottle for this scent. This bottle definitely suits it more. It's definitely much more of a toned down, less rich, less decadent fragrance compared to what it was. And I love how tactile this bottle is. I really, really enjoy it. I think it's great. And obviously you've got that sort of rosy gold maroon tone, which I think does suit the scent as well. It scents the feeling of the colour of the scent. So Café Rose, it's a coffee rose. Is it though? Gotta say, I'm very ignorant when it comes to fragrance notes. I am very bad for not looking them up, researching them, at least having something to refer to that makes it easier for people watching this to think, yeah, well, I know what that smells like, I know what that smells like. I never do that. I just always experience things for a while and I just get a feeling for the scent. I don't try and pick things out. I certainly would recognise rose in this, that's for sure. I wouldn't pick out coffee. I don't know what the rest of the notes are. There's definitely some woody elements in here. Or at least I can smell something very woody. There's a drier, woodier element in this. Now the original Café Rose, like I say, there was some sharper, headier elements. I think it could have been either saffron or something like that. I don't enjoy saffron when it's placed with rose. It makes the rose bitter for me, drier, just harder to stomach. I just don't enjoy them. And I think the saffron that was in it is either gone or it's been toned down or something. It's much lighter than the original, less complex. One thing about the rose in Café Rose and the original, I believe, was that the rose sort of went into that potpourri direction. There's something in here that dries the rose out, makes it slightly potpourri, slightly more heady, you know. It does that in here, at least it certainly does it in the beginning. And I wasn't sure at first, but when you wear it, I feel like it kind of, it moves out. It spreads out, like it doesn't remain this sort of condensed dried rose petal that feels too perfumey. It kind of has this way of moving and softening, and all the elements just seem to balance really, really nicely, and it feels like a really decadent rose. A little bit mature, I think, a little bit of a mature rose, I will say that. Definitely approachable for me, and I find it such a lovely rose to wear right now for this sort of early autumn period. I think it's gorgeous, actually. I really am enjoying it. Somewhere in there is a sort of a sweet element lurking within, and it's not too sugary. It's more sort of a softer sweet element. So yeah, Café Rose, Tom Ford, a lovely autumn rose, and I think it will be my rotation up till winter because I think it is just very easy to wear. So yeah, Café Rose. So next is a fragrance that goes in a whole other direction. People often say that my collection is so eclectic, it's so varied and random. And it is, and I have very random, varied moods, I guess. So you need a fragrance to suit every mood, you just do. This next fragrance is, I think it's symbolic of stepping into autumn. Early autumn scent, but it's definitely autumn. It's a sunny autumn day. That's what this is, and I absolutely love it. It's not rose, and it's not sweet and fruity. Well, maybe it's a bit fruity. It's by BDK, and it is wood jasmine. It's wood jasmine. Now, people that love jasmine, my friend John Snow, he loves jasmine. He tried this and said, oh my good God, the jasmine is so artificial. It's not like jasmine. This was a while ago, but I'm not a massive jasmine lover, so perhaps the jasmine in here isn't that authentic. I don't know. But I do love whatever's happening in here. I find that to me, if I smell a real jasmine tree, bush, flower, whatever, I get a real proper jasmine in here, but none of the indoles. This is really sweetened with something like cider, something appley, but cidery, something that's fermented as a fermented fruit. I can't remember what is in here. Is there apples in here? I honestly can't remember. Feels like a slightly boozy, cidery, without any sharpness or cloyingness. A fresh splash of cider on jasmine and a really lovely woody base. I get quite an ethereal image when I smell this of wood nymphs buzzing around an orchard on a really sunny autumn day, and the apples have hit the ground and they're sort of turning, and there's sort of a breeze of jasmine on the air, or in the air, like a reminder of summer. like the farewell of summer. Warm floral breeze that's leaving, and then you've got sort of the, you know, the oncoming autumn day. It's quite tangy. It's very golden. It smells golden, like the colour of the liquid. There's something very delicious about it. And I just think it's beautiful. And it does represent, you know, an autumn day, a sunny autumn day. And I'm really glad that I've, you know, started reaching for this again. I wore it a few times last week. Really enjoyed it. I always enjoy this. So yeah, Wood Jasmine from BDK. These next two fragrances represent what I enjoy wearing in the evening, actually, what I've been constantly reaching for. I'm always in the mood for these two in the evening, and I think being that we're in October now, one of them is very much, I think, that kind of feeling and lead up to Halloween. It's like that little promise of Halloween, and the other one is more like a goodbye to summer, but in a really lovely, delicious way. So the goodbye to summer fragrance is a bit bougie just to wear in the evening, but I really enjoy this. I don't know what it is about it. It's just something very Moorish and satisfying just to wear in the evening. It's Soie Malaquais from Dries van Norton. I don't think it's typically the sort of thing that makes me feel like me, you know, but I love wearing it nonetheless. But that's why I think I like wearing in the evening, because it's like coming home, chilling out, and just going in a whole nother direction of something that's different, a bit unusual, and just really enjoyable. I recently tried out the Sol de Janeiro Boom Boom Cream, which I know is massively popular. It's the first time I've ever tried it, and there's a certain fragrance in that reminds me of this. It's sort of that creamy, slightly sort of tropical, delicious sort of scent, and there's definitely an element of that in here, at least to my nose anyway. Some gourmand elements. You've got the chocolate in here, you've got chestnut, you've got a silk accord, there's black currant or blackberry. Quite an unusual note breakdown there, but it does really work. It's very different, much more luxurious. I find this more chocolatey than chestnutty. I don't think I get a lot of chestnut in this, but there's certainly something very delicious, and I guess there's something a bit nutty in there, which does put me in mind of an autumny feeling. But there's a really lovely fruity feel in here. I don't think I get black currant per se, but it makes me think of something that's very soft and very warm, very mellow. The fruits in here are very warm and very soft and mellow, which I guess the cacao and chestnut are doing. And that silk accord does make it very sensual, enveloping, like silky sweet chocolate that's fruity, that's softly fruited. I think because of those weird mix of notes and how agreeable and kind of happy it is, there's something, again, whimsical in here. I think that's why I enjoy it so much. It's got a whimsical element of perfumey gourmand, if you will. And gosh, the bottle is absolutely stunning, isn't it? So yeah, I really enjoy reaching for that in the evening. So that is Soie Malaquais from Dries van Norton. This next one is my evening scent that's giving me Halloween feels. So I'm not going to talk about it too long as well, because it is discontinued. This is a Lolita Lempicka, and I'll never tire of this DNA. It's so good. I think this is my second favourite after the EDT. This is actually the, hang on, let me look at it, Eau de Minuit. This is like powdery, musky, mild, cuddly licorice. Yeah, Moorish, powdery, whimsical, still very unique really, when nothing else has matched this DNA ever since the original Lolita Lempicka, and nothing else really has come close to smelling like that. And all the flankers are really good, really, really good. I wish they hadn't discontinued them. This was a great one. How much have I got left in that? I don't spray it too often, but I'm really enjoying this in the evenings at the moment. The EDP is a much sharper licorice. It's much bolder. It's got more of a syrupy feel to it. It has more notes. There's cherry. There's all sorts going on in that one. This one is much more simple. Licorice, the iris, it wraps them up in a musk and a powderiness, and makes it kind of ghostly, like a veil, like a ghostly veil. A bit more depth. This is a dark fairy scent. This is not evil, but definitely dark. Anyway, so obviously that's where I'm going with the Halloween association here, but it is such a good one. It seems criminal that they've discontinued this one. It's so good. I love it, and I'm enjoying it right now. So, Lolita Lempicka Eau de Minuit. So I'm going to end this video on not exactly a unicorn, but on a fragrance that I've wanted for the longest time. It's been on my list, on my wish list for so long. I put it to bed for a while because of how expensive it is and how simple the scent is. I always decided that it just wasn't worth the money, and I bought other things to compensate in that time. And nothing is quite this, really. It's just simple, it's fleeting, but it is what it is, and the magic is in that very simple, beautiful scent. I'm waffling. It's by Guerlain. I had a sample for the longest time. I've used it sparingly, and I go back to it and I just think, oh God, I really want this, but I never buy it. And there was a bottle on eBay, a big bottle on eBay, and I just thought, you know what, the time is right, I'm getting it. I'm having that. I'm bloody having that. It's Tonka Imperial. I think it's one of the best Tonka fragrances without being too heavy, too gourmand, too, you know, overcomplicated. It is just a very classy, slightly aromatic, golden splash of beautiful Tonka. It's kind of a buttery, powdery, it's the showcase. It is showcasing that main note without crowding it. And it's stunning. I really do love Tonka. I think Tonka is, I like it more than vanilla. If it's done right, it's absolutely beautiful. The thing with this fragrance, and I think it's probably because it's newer, it's been new, I think it's a newly poured bottle, I don't know, but my sample is slightly different. I think it's aged. I'm hoping that's what it is, because this is a big bottle and it can easily sit for a long time and macerate and mature. My sample is much more powdery. It feels more powdery, more marzipan-y, and it has a bit more weight. It's a bit more weighty. This one has a sort of more of a top note presence and feels slightly thinner. The aromatic notes are raspberry. What the hell is raspberry? Rosemary. I don't smell those notes in my sample. I think they maybe, if it's top notes, then they've maybe just have died off or something. So it could just be that. But the Tonka is beautiful. It's not as powdery as my sample. More of an amberiness to this as well. There's almost like a Coca-Cola splash to this. So it is slightly different, with a smooth lick of slightly aromatic, smooth marzipan, as opposed to a dusting of more dense, almondy, tonkery marzipan. Although it's simple, it does smell decadent, it does smell luxurious, and it smells classy. And I love layering this scent. You can layer this with everything. For me, I could layer this lovely Tonka on absolutely any fragrance just to elevate it. And I'm hoping that it will macerate and mature and just get slightly more powdery. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, but it's still beautiful. So the one to land on in this video is Tonka Imperial by Guerlain. And there we have it. So this is all my fragrances that I've been enjoying, current rotation. This is how I've been smelling at the end of summer, beginning of autumn, and obviously continuing into autumn. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall see you soon, hopefully on my next one. Take care, over and out.